White Sox fans rejoice in the morning afterglow of an 8-1 opening day victory down at Rate Field on the south side. This is Believe in White Sox. This is our morning after Reax. I wanted to watch a little bit of the NCAA tournament yesterday, Sweet 16 in both New Jersey and San Francisco. So had my mind on basketball for a little bit, but I wanted to sleep on and ruminate about the 8-1 victory for the White Sox over the Angels on opening day down on the south side. And all I can say is I took some notes during the game, and I am very impressed with how this team came out, was resilient from the jump, and then pounced on the Angels at the right opportunity. We saw some lulls with this offense in the middle innings, and then what I like to call a springboard eighth inning, and I'll explain what that means in just a little bit. But going through some of the stat lines in the box score, Sean Burke was awesome in his opening day debut. 6 innings, no runs, 3 hits, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. Sox bullpen came up big when they needed to. Penn Murphy was awesome in the 7th. We'll get to Jordan Leisure and Mike Clevenger in the 8th inning. By that point, it was out of reach. Cam Boozer gave up a home run in the 9th inning. Would have been nice if the White Sox could have preserved the shutout, but a win is a win any way that you'll take it, and it's the first time that the White Sox have been over 500 since winning their opening day game against the Astros 2 seasons ago. So I don't know how long the White Sox are going to end up being in first place, but what I will say is this, that they are in a position to where people can at least get somewhat excited about them. That to me, I think, is where people kind of need to understand the perspective. The fact that this White Sox team scored 8 runs in the first game of the year. I saw a stat somewhere to where like it was a significant amount of time last season until they had their first output of 8 runs. So everything is progress. And look, I know that we are not going to be enthralled with this roster at this point, but at the same time, we have to appreciate the successes where they come. So let's go through some of the notes that I had from yesterday. We'll start in the 1st inning because that's where every baseball game starts. And this is where I was most impressed with Sean Burke. He allows a leadoff double to Taylor Ward and then hits Mike Trout with 1 out. So you've got runners at the corners in the top of the 1st inning with 1 out. And this is easily a situation to where if this is last year's White Sox or the White Sox from 2 years ago, that at least 1 run scores, maybe 2. But Burke comes back, he strikes out Jorge Soler, and then he strikes out Tim Anderson, and Tim Anderson's return to the south side. And so for me, using an adverse situation and then, or rather a situation where you're facing adversity and getting out of it like that, to me, showed a lot of resolve from somebody that does not have a lot of experience in these spots. I would say watching him pitch throughout the course of the afternoon, it was pretty clear that Will Venable made the right choice in deciding to start Sean Burke on opening day. And you know what? He may not have a ton of experience at the big league level, but he was successful in the time that he was on the major league club last year, and he throws a heavy ball. Ozzie Guillen was saying it on the White Sox postgame. He throws a heavy ball, which means that it may not actually have the same velocity as a lot of the fireballers, but it comes out with a little bit of acceleration. So it looks a little bit faster than it actually is. Let's go to the second. Austin Slater is a guy that is going to basically platoon for most of the year, I would think, against left-handed pitching. The way that the White Sox roster on opening day is set up, you've got 2 corner outfielders in Andrew Benintendi and Travis Jankowski, who are both left-handed hitters. Jankowski came in late. You got Michael A. Taylor and Austin Slater, who are both right-handed hitting outfielders. So yesterday, Andrew Benintendi, a left-handed hitter, he DH'd, which I think that was probably the wrong decision against Yusei Kikuchi. He probably shouldn't have been in the lineup at all because Benintendi has just been terrible against left-handers over the course of his career. But that aside, Austin Slater gets the rally started in the bottom of the second inning with a solo homer. And then the thing that impressed me the most about that second inning for the White Sox is that even after the leadoff homer, they strung a rally together. And big props to Miguel Vargas. He had a huge 2 RBI double that put the White Sox up 3-0. To me, that was something that you could have easily been fine with just the one run in the inning. You could have rested on your laurels, and these hitters could not have come up with a patient approach. But the White Sox strung together a rally. Corey Lee got on base, Jacob Amaya got on base, and Vargas finds a way to drive him in. Vargas finished the day 2 for 4 with 2 RBI, both coming on that double. Burke then basically went on cruise control in the next few innings. I thought that he probably could have gone more, but somebody that is quote unquote that young, maybe you don't want him to go beyond the 73 pitches that he did. I think he could have gone in the seventh, but again, with an off day today, you could afford to use the bullpen and get your team to a point to where you're not overextending him early. He goes 6 scoreless innings. I think that's all you can ask of him. But my next moment from my notes from yesterday's game is that he comes out in the top of the third inning and goes 1-2-3. That to me was huge, not only for the momentum of his day, but the momentum of the White Sox day. I have in the past, I've always talked about what I call the quote unquote shutdown inning. And the shutdown inning, I don't know if it's actually defined anywhere in a glossary book, but the shutdown inning is when a pitcher comes out and holds the other team scoreless the half inning after your offense has either tied the game or given you the lead. So for the White Sox to score 3 runs in the bottom of the second inning and then to have an easy top of the third was huge momentum for the rest of the game. Now, the White Sox offense went silent after the second inning. And to me, that's a concern because that falls into the pattern of what we've seen, not just last year, but really going back to the 2022 season in an offense that swings at the first pitch a lot and doesn't walk a lot. And, the White Sox, once again, some things change, some things stay the same. The White Sox only drew 2 walks in the game, and I will make note that both walks came against the Angels bullpen, with one of those walks coming against Nicky Lopez, who would have had on their bingo card that 2024 White Sox infielder Nicky Lopez would be pitching against the White Sox on opening day in 2025. If you had a prop bet on that somewhere, congratulations, you probably won huge. Anyway, moving on. So, Penn Murphy. I remember watching Penn Murphy when he was at Santa Clara. Penn Murphy is somebody that comes from a sidearm angle, and he's got really good stuff. He's got sweepy stuff. And Penn Murphy struck out the side in the top of the seventh inning. And to me, that was awesome. To me, that showed that you've got a guy that's mentally tough that can come in and be able to get the job done in the late innings. Now, it may not be like that every time. Again, we're basing a lot of this off of a one-game sample, but if you can be the first guy out of the bullpen after your starter goes 6 shutout innings, is dominating the other lineup, and you find a way to strike out the side in order, to me, that says a lot about the fortitude of who you are as a relief pitcher and the type of roles that you can be put into. Now, the top of the eighth inning, I think, was the critical juncture of the game because the Angels very easily could have tied the game. And I will give credit to Will Venable where it's due for understanding the right lever to pull in the right situation. He brings Jordan Leisure in for the eighth inning, and Leisure struggles. He allows 2 base runners to get on, and with 2 out, Venable decides to go to Mike Clevenger. And there's nothing that's officially been decided at this point, but it looks pretty clear that Mike Clevenger is going to end up as this team's closer. Whether you like it or not, whether you like Mike Clevenger or not, That's the situation that I think the White Sox have put themselves in. That this is going to end up being the guy that will be your closer moving forward, unless otherwise noted. And I don't really see anybody right now in this bullpen that probably can take on that mantle. Mike Clevenger dealt with enough injury issues last year to where I don't think he's going to be a starting pitcher again. And it was only the White Sox who took him on a minor league deal. People don't like Mike Clevenger for obvious reasons. But if he's going to be a part of the team, at least put him in a situation where he can be successful. So, a really good decision by Will Venable to bring Clevenger in with runners at the corners and 2 out to face Mike Trout, who, with one swing of the bat against a guy like Jordan Leisure, could tie the game. Now, I know that Mike Trout isn't the same Mike Trout of the past, but he's still Mike Trout. And a really good at bat between Clevenger and Trout. Trout wins the battle by drawing a walk, which to me is fine. KYP, know your personnel, as some of my friends in the basketball world would say. Who is going to be the guy that will more easily strike out? Is it going to be Mike Trout, or is it going to be Jorge Soler, who is following him? Clevenger was smart in terms of not giving Trout anything to drive and understanding, okay, I have enough experience in high leverage spots, even though I've been a starter most of my career, to come in and know that even if I don't get Trout, I'm not going to give him anything good to hit. And that's exactly what Clevenger did. Bases loaded, Jorge Soler comes up, and Clevenger strikes him out. Bases loaded, tying run left at first, go ahead run left at the plate. And that, to me, was the springboard you needed going into the bottom of the 8th inning. And by the way, the pitch that Soler struck out on was clearly a ball. He swung at one that was a good half a foot above the top of the strike zone, and I'm being generous by saying that. And that springboards you to the bottom of the 8th inning, where your offense wakes up, Andrew Benintendi finally getting to face a right-handed pitcher in the game, drives a 3-run shot to right field to give the White Sox a 6-0 lead, and then Lenyn Sosa comes in and he gets a part of the home run party. He hits a 2-run homer to put the White Sox up 8-0. Cam Boozer comes in, he gives up a home run, but he ends up striking out the side. So to me, this was a complete victory for the White Sox in which they pounded out 9 hits. They scored 8 runs. On the pitching side of things, they struck out 10. They only walked 2. They only allowed 5 hits. You held Mike Trout 0 for 2. You did walk him. You did hit him. But the top 5 in the Angels order end up going a combined 2 for 18. 2 for 18 with 5 strikeouts. Now, Tim Anderson had 3 of those strikeouts. And I do want to say that there was a couple of things that were a little bit confusing to me about the crowd at Rate Field yesterday. Tim Anderson does not look like the Tim Anderson of White Sox past. He looks more like the Tim Anderson of Marlins past. And to me, that's concerning for the sake of his future staying in the big leagues. But I was really impressed with the ovation that White Sox fans gave him. They made TA feel like he was back at home. And to me, that is something that is to be admired about the way that the fans responded to somebody who, quite frankly, let's call a spade, he did not exit the way that he probably would have liked to. But I would say that any White Sox fan who enjoyed the excitement that TA brought to the South Side should certainly be rooting for his success in order to get his career back on track. And I think he will get his career back on track. Although he is playing second base now. So to me, that's something that I'll be curious to see if the change in defensive positioning is going to end up getting him to a point where he feels comfortable again. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play a little bit of the outfield. I was shocked that Yoan Moncada was booed when he came up in a pinch hitting situation in the late innings. I say shocked because I don't think you can blame all of Moncada's failures on him. You can't blame him for being somebody that didn't stay healthy. This whole White Sox team over the previous 3 years couldn't stay healthy. So to me, getting on one guy for not being able to stay healthy, maybe there was some frustration in terms of how he responded physically after he got COVID in early 2021. Maybe people are frustrated that this guy, that at one point was the number one overall prospect in baseball, just didn't end up being anywhere close to the guy that they thought was going to be a mainstay in this organization for a long time. So, however you want to slice it, and I don't know how you want to slice it, I'm not a slicer, but to me, I think that you have got to understand to a certain extent where your former players are and why they got to where they are. And I don't think that was fair to Yohan Moncada. I hope that in the last two games of this series, which will be on Saturday and Sunday, I hope that there is a little better fan response. But look, the White Sox, they're in first place. They get an opening day victory, and I could not be more excited. Now, the White Sox may end up finishing well under 500, as most teams, most people expect them to do. But as I said on the Lone Star Halo podcast, which, by the way, go back and check out, it is on our feed as well. I just want some improvement. And are some of these guys going to be a part of the competitive future for the White Sox? No. But you at least saw yesterday a team that is going to try and grind out runs and find ways to win. That to me is the most impressive part of the early sample size of what I've seen. And if you go on social media, you look at the clubhouse videos and everything that you're seeing around Will Venable, the vibe is so much better around Will Venable than it ever was around Pedro Grifol. There's a reason why Will Venable, shortly after retiring as a player, rose very quickly through the coaching ranks. There is no doubt in my mind, and I think you can read a lot of articles that say otherwise, that if Bruce Bochy had decided at some point to hang it up in Texas, now, this is only his third year as the Rangers manager, but I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that if Bruce Bochy had decided to retire, that the Rangers would have immediately promoted Will Venable to the managerial spot. He was that highly regarded. And remember, this is somebody that was a coach on the Cubs staff and was well liked when he was a member of the Cubs staff. I am thoroughly impressed with how Will Venable handled that game yesterday, how he's handling the clubhouse. We'll see if the lineupistas come out and criticize certain lineups in certain situations, but at least given the roster you have, this was about the best lineup that you could have possibly imagined them to put out. And when you look ahead to Saturday, it's going to be Jose Soriano for the Angels. He's a right-hander, so you're going to see probably a much different lineup. Benintendi will probably be in the outfield. You'll probably see Travis Jankowski. And then a guy that I cannot pronounce is going to start for the Angels on Sunday. So this will be the only time in this series that you saw this specific lineup. Now, maybe you put Austin Slater back in and continue to have Benintendi DH. Maybe Brooks Baldwin makes his first appearance of the season. I don't think that we can overly construct and deconstruct lineup construction, to overuse the word construct in these situations. But what I can say is be excited. Be excited that the product that you doubted, that everybody doubted, and rightfully so to doubt, came out on opening day and thumped the Angels. That to me is what is the most exciting part about where we are at in the life cycle of this team. They didn't just win on opening day, they won convincingly. And I don't think there's a moment over the last year plus to where you could say the White Sox won a game convincingly.
So now it is time to do something that anytime the White Sox win or anytime we do a reaction show to a game, we're going to give out our three pinwheels of the game. This is very similar to our three stars of the game that you normally see in hockey, but because the White Sox have a scoreboard that has exploding pinwheels on it, we're going to call this our three pinwheels of the game. And pinwheel number one is the best, pinwheel number three is the third best. So pinwheel number three is going to go to Austin Slater. And the reason why I say it's going to go to Austin Slater is because he got the party started. He got the momentum going with the home run in the second inning. Now, is Austin Slater ultimately the reason why the White Sox won the game? No. But it got the ball rolling on a rally that would get you two more runs in the second inning and then eventually get you two more home runs in the game. Was the game in doubt when Benintendi hit the 3-run homer in the eighth? A little bit, yes, because you still could have blown a 3-run lead in the ninth inning, and you almost blew a 3-run lead in the top of the eighth inning. But he still got you to a point where your offense felt confident. And even though it went away for a few innings, getting something like that out of somebody that has been a career platoon player to me is gravy. The whole Austin Slater experience at this point is going to be gravy because he's very good when he's facing left-handed pitching. And I guarantee you, every moment of every day that he's on the White Sox roster, he will find a way to face a left-handed pitcher. You will see him come in pinch hitting situations against left-handed pitchers for the rest of the season, or at least until July when he's eventually traded. But Austin Slater, 1 for 3 with a solo homer. He is our third pinwheel of the game. Our second pinwheel of the game, and I hate to do this because most White Sox fans don't like him and don't like the fact that he's even on the roster, is going to go to Mike Clevenger. And the reason why is that you brought him in a high leverage situation and he succeeded. There's a very good chance that if you left Jordan Leisure in the game to face Mike Trout, that he gives up a run, maybe two, and possibly this thing domino effects to where the Angels have a 4-3 or a 5-3 lead going to the bottom of the eighth inning. Instead, Clevenger comes in, pitches a very smart at bat to Mike Trout, and then gets aggressive with Jorge Soler, who is more susceptible to strikeouts than probably anybody else in that Angels lineup, save for, say, Tim Anderson, who is now extremely prone to striking out because he's no longer the same Tim Anderson. So Mike Clevenger gets our second pinwheel of the game. And our number one pinwheel of the game, I don't think it can be argued, it's Sean Burke. 6 shutout innings, 3 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts, worked in and out of trouble in the first inning, was pretty dominant for the rest of the following 5 innings, probably could have gone into the 7th inning. Everything that you could have wanted from an opening day starter, maybe the most unexpected opening day starter around Major League Baseball, but at the same time, he's somebody that just one start in, you can feel confident about what he's going to do every time he takes the ball. He's a gamer, he's a grinder, he's somebody that you feel like every time he takes the ball, you have a chance to win. That's how you felt with Garrett Crochet. Every time he takes the ball, he's going to find a way to keep you in a game. And this is the type of guy that reminds me a lot of like a right-handed Mark Burley. Somebody that, now, Burke throws harder than Burley, but he's somebody that is going to think while he pitches and is going to effectively work all parts of the strike zone and isn't afraid to pitch to contact. That's the other thing, that he got a lot of soft contact yesterday. And in 6 innings, he only had 3 strikeouts. I am of the belief, philosophically, that I would rather have a first pitch or second pitch ground out or fly out than a 5-pitch or 6-pitch strikeout. Are strikeouts good in terms of not advancing runners? Yes. The strikeout is one of the 3 true outcomes in baseball. But it drives pitchers' pitch counts up. So the fact that Sean Burke only went 6 innings and threw 73 pitches, that's an average of 12.2 pitches per inning. That is what the late great Ed Farmer said is what you want to average as a starting pitcher. 12.2 pitches per inning, that's basically a little over 4 pitches per out. And so he had faced 20 total batters. So basically, as I try and do the math here real quickly, apparently I can't type properly on a calculator. Still can't type properly on a calculator. That's 3.7 pitches per at bat. That is a number you will take to the bank every single time you get the ball. 3.7 pitches per at bat. I love it. I love it. Actually, I miscalculated. Burke faced 22 batters, not 20. So let's recalculate. That's 3.32. Let's just round down to 3.3. That's 3.3 pitches per at bat or per plate appearance. That is going to get the job done more often than it's not. Now, for as much as we want to talk about how impressed we are with Sean Burke, and again, that was our 3 pinwheels of the game sponsored by nobody, but maybe at some point we'll end up getting a sponsor for that segment. And I'm hoping that at some point, assuming that I can brush up on my graphic design skills, that we will have a little sidebar graphic for our 3 pinwheels of the game. But anyway, moving on. Jonathan Cannon will go for the White Sox on Saturday, and Davis Martin will take the ball on Sunday. And all you can hope for is that you are in a similar type situation in terms of what you get out of your starting pitcher in each of the next 2 games. Will you in both games? Probably not. I'm not as confident right now, given the track record of what I've seen from Jonathan Cannon, as I am Davis Martin, especially given the fact that Davis Martin had a really good spring. But at the same time, I think that what Sean Burke did can set the tone for the rest of the rotation. Now, you're not going to get that type of performance every time out. And there's enough inexperience in this rotation to where you're going to have some really rough spots. Yet at the same time, if you temper expectations, if you see somebody go 6 innings, 4 runs, you hope that that keeps you in a game. You hope that this offense can muster enough to where it will keep you in the game. We still need to find out more about the bullpen pieces that are on this roster to where we know if a guy is coming out in the 5th inning and there's a lead, who do you want in the 6th and the 7th? Who's going to pitch the 8th? I think it's kind of the silent part has been said out loud that Mike Clevenger is going to be this team's closer, and he didn't finish the game yesterday because of the fact the White Sox ended up scoring 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning, and there was no need to, especially because he ended up maxing out in terms of the 1 out that he got. He ended up throwing 15 pitches to get just 1 out, face 2 batters. And especially with the off day today, no reason to, and granted, it would have been a safe situation, but no reason to throw him, especially given his injury history in recent years, no reason to throw him an extra inning if you don't need to. Home run aside, Cam Boozer's got really good stuff. Cam Boozer is a really good story. Former Twins draft pick. I remember covering him when he was in Cedar Rapids, got cut, worked his way back through independent league ball, had a really solid year last year with the Red Sox, and now at age 33, trying to catch on in the White Sox bullpen, and he's got really good stuff. I mean, if I need a high leverage lefty arm out of the bullpen, that's the guy, at least on this roster, that I'm going to go to. Home run aside, you strike out 3 guys in your 1 inning of work, shows me you've got really good stuff. We've already talked about Penn Murphy and what to expect out of him, but there are still guys that we need to see some things from. We still need to see what Brandon Eisert has, what Frazier Ellard has, what Mike Vassell has, what Bryce Wilson has. Is this actually a good bullpen? We don't know. The other thing that's going to be really interesting is Corey Lee, I think, had a good swagger about him yesterday. Now, Corey Lee is a right-handed hitter. Matt Thaiss is a left-handed hitter. The lineup on Saturday, facing a right-hander in Jose Soriano, is going to tell us whether or not catcher is going to be a platoon or whether or not catcher is going to end up being Corey Lee's spot where he starts 2/3 of the games and Matt Thaiss ends up starting a third of the games. But Corey Lee, I think there's an urgency right now with Corey Lee. I think Corey Lee knows that as a former top prospect himself, that with the acquisitions of, in consecutive seasons, Edgar Quero from the Angels and Kyle Teal from the Red Sox, I think Corey Lee knows that his time to establish himself as the White Sox franchise catcher is short. He knows this is probably his last chance to be the guy. Now, Corey Lee could still be on the White Sox roster if Kyle Teal or Edgar Quero ends up being this team's franchise catcher a few years from now. But in the moment, Corey Lee finally has the opportunity to be the guy. And I think that, kind of like last year with Chucky Robinson, I don't think anybody is clamoring for Matt Thaiss to get the majority of the at-bats. And Corey Lee got the majority of the at-bats last year. So I think that at this point, if you're the White Sox, you have to look at what Corey Lee does this year and evaluate, is this a guy that we feel like we can hitch our wagon to? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe Corey Lee is still here 5 years from now as the backup catcher. More than likely, that's not the case. But at least for now, there seems to be a motivation from Corey Lee that he knows that his time is short. A couple of other thoughts from yesterday's game. Unimpressive day from Andrew Vaughn. I'm hoping that as guys like Miguel Vargas and Austin Slater and Lenine Sosa have solid days, it was not a good day for Andrew Vaughn. I'm hoping that he has historically, I feel like, started slow. I don't have the numbers in front of me to prove that, but it seems like he is somebody that historically has not started quickly. So I am hoping that Andrew Vaughn ends up finding a way to have a solid final 2 games of the series, because this is your everyday first baseman. I think that there will be some situations where Vaughn ends up sitting a day that Miguel Vargas ends up playing first, and then you probably see Brooks Baldwin end up playing some third base. So, disappointing day from Andrew Vaughn. Luis Robert got a hit. He had a strikeout. Not, he had a double. So, I think that, to me, that shows that the power stroke looks good. He had a good spring. And again, we'll see how long Luis Robert's on this roster. And then Andrew Benintendi, I think it's pretty well proven that he doesn't hit lefties well, and he hits righties well. So if Benintendi can put together the type of a bat that he did against Ryan Johnson when he hit the home run in the 8th inning, I know that you don't want to platoon a guy that you paid that much money to, but to me, and we've talked about it a decent amount, like Andrew Benintendi at this point is a sunk cost. He's a sunk cost. This is the first year of 3 remaining years on his contract. He's probably not tradable at this point. So why not at least just bench him against left-handed pitching? I'm not saying platoon him, but at least don't start him against left-handed pitching. I don't think that that's that hard. And when you get into a situation where there's a right-handed reliever that comes in, let's just say, for instance, that you got Austin Slater starting in left field one day. Let's say that Slater gets the first 3 at bats against the left-handed starter, and then they bring in a right-handed reliever. Then you can bring Benintendi in off the bench. Benintendi will get his at bats. It's just a matter of understanding how much better he is against right-handed pitching than he is against left-handed pitching. I think that just about does it. So, to run down what we're going to have for you, the final 2 games of the Angels series, it will be a 1:10 Central start down at Rate Field on Saturday. Jose Soriano against Jonathan Cannon. And then on Sunday, another 1:10 start. It will be Jack Konchanowicz, I think I got that right, against Davis Martin for the White Sox. And then it'll be a day game on Monday against the Twins. White Sox will also have a night game on Tuesday against the Twins. It'll be Martin Perez on Monday, Shane Smith on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, another day game. More than likely, Sean Burke will make his second start of the year. That is it. That is all. Thank you so much for joining us on this opening day Reax video and podcast here on Believe in White Sox. Sox are 1-0 and atop the American League Central with an 8-1 win over the Angels. Thanks, everybody.